My name's Associate Professor Graham Hardy. I'm Pro Vice Chancellor Student Learner at the University of Adelaide. It's my immense pleasure to be MC tonight and to lead us through this ceremony. And what a good evening it is. It's good to see everyone in the room, to congratulate our award winners and to celebrate on their behalf. In fact, there were so many people who registered for this event. One of the Deputy Vice-Chancellors nearly didn't get registered because we ran out of room. And we had to reopen registrations with another 20 people, another 20 places, because it was such a popular event. So it's really nice to see colleagues, friends, family coming to celebrate our award winners. I'm very blessed to live about 35 minutes drive north of here, and every day when I wake up, I feel a great sense of pleasure that I live and work and travel around on Ghana land and live under this amazing, huge blue South Australian sky. And it really warms my heart to feel that I belong and I'm part of this country. And so I'd like to acknowledge the land on which we meet today is traditional land of the Ghana people and respect their spiritual relationship with their country. I'd also like to acknowledge the Ghana people as the custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to living Ghana people today. Also pay respects to the cultural authority of Aboriginal people attending tonight and from other areas of Australia. So welcome to everyone. So tonight is part of the South Australian and Northern Territory Promotion of Excellence Network, SANTPEN. It's our awards ceremony. And it's a combination and collaboration between the higher education institutions of South Australia and Northern Territories, the University of Adelaide, the University of South Australia, Flinders University, Tabor College, the Batchelor Institute for Indigenous Tertiary Education and Charles Darwin University. And it's really brilliant that we can come together in one place and celebrate our award winners. And in fact, we batted way above our average this year in terms of the number of awards that we won in South Australia compared to the number of national awards available. So we're doing something right for our students and we're doing something right for ourselves, and we can rightly congratulate each other. So the SANTPEN network focuses on promoting excellence in teaching and learning. And events such as this and the awards ceremony is to recognise outstanding contribution to student learning and teaching excellence. Being a member of a university feels like a blessing and a privilege. And it's a constant joy for me when I'm travelling into the university each morning to think that the primary reason that I'm in my car driving is that when I get to work, I'm going to support and facilitate other students and others to learn, to grow, and to achieve. And at this week at the University of Adelaide, and I'm sure that other weeks at other universities, it's graduation week, graduation ceremonies. And this is probably the most tangible reminder of the amazing personal, academic and professional journeys that our students have successfully travelled on over the 1 to 6 years of their programmes. And tonight is another one of those tangible reminders of quality. So tonight we honour our colleagues who have been recognised for their exceptional dedication to teaching and learning through the Australian Awards for University Teaching. The Australian Awards for University Teaching recognise exceptional educators who demonstrate with substantial evidence the impact of their teaching practice and establish a connection between their teaching and scholarly research. And Ben, one of the winners, and I were talking earlier on and mentioning that being an exceptional teacher is one thing, and there are many, many, many exceptional teachers, but to collect that evidence together and to put it in a coherent form so that it can be recognised as such takes an enormous effort. So thank you not only to the award winners, but for all people who have worked on their applications over the months and years. So I'd like to take this opportunity to recognise the significant effort involved in developing an application, including the long-term vision, sustained practice, and the depth of scholarly reflection in the award applications. 2024 saw a large number of AAUT awards. In South Australia and Northern Territory, we received 8 citations for outstanding contributions to student learning, 1 award for programs that enhance student learning, and 3 awards for teaching excellence. And we're incredibly grateful tonight to have Professor Sally Kift and other members of the award committee chairs who work so hard to support and review the AAUT Awards. So thank you, Sally, for travelling all the way from Canberra on a 2+2 aeroplane. Sorry, from Brisbane, I beg your pardon. I'd also like to express my gratitude to the review panels for each of the categories and for colleagues who dedicated substantial amounts of time and effort to review all the applications. Each award application represents a significant body of work, each of which has merits and value. So we are pleased to have Professor Kift here to present the awards. In 2017, Sally received an Australian University Career Achievement Award for her contribution to Australian higher education, and she joins us to give out the awards. So please, Sally, let me invite you to the lectern and to take over the next part of the ceremony. Welcome, and it's good to see you.
Thank you, Graham, for that extraordinarily warm welcome, and good evening, everyone. I couldn't be more delighted than to be with you here this evening for this very special event, Australian University Teaching Awards celebration, organised by SANTPEN, as has been discussed. Tonight we gather not just to honour both excellence and innovation in outstanding contributions to teaching, learning and assessment, but also to celebrate the passion, dedication and impact of a remarkable group of educators. To our South Australian Award winners, because this is a national competition, I was speaking with Marnie about this before, huge congratulations to you all in South Australia. Your commitment to inspiring students, to pushing the boundaries of learning and to shaping future generations of agentic professionals is nothing short of inspiring and extraordinary. These awards are a reflection of the lasting impact and difference you make every single day in your classrooms, online, in the labs, in the studios, in the work integrated and other experiential and clinical learning. Oops, that would help. Thank you. But tonight is also, this is the more important bit, but tonight is also about the people who care for you and are so palpably proud of you, your loved ones, families and friends, and your happy colleagues who support, encourage and stand with you and have stood with you across the long nights, the relentless challenges, the grumpy days, the up days, and countless hours of preparation. We're delighted that you're all here with us also. This is very much your celebration and welcome. Excellent teaching is a careful and passion and a labour of probably unrequited love to a large extent, quiet consistent, and rarely in the spotlight. But tonight, we shine that spotlight proudly. We honour you, we thank you, and we celebrate the joy of learning that you so evidently bring to life in your classrooms. So congratulations once and all, and special thanks to SANTPEN for all their work in organising this wonderful occasion. Let's get on and enjoy this special evening together. We're going to start with the following award winners who have each been awarded a citation for outstanding contribution to student learning. The first award winner is Dr. Kat Cute from Charles Darwin University for their citation, Integrating First Nations Knowledges Through Narrative Techniques and Practical Workplace Experiences with Authentic Assessment for Enhanced Learning. So congratulations, Dr. Cute. This award is accepted tonight by Jane Bosey, as Kat's unable to attend. Thank you, Jane. Very well done. But we're lucky because Kat has provided a video acceptance for us to watch.
Greetings from Garamilla, the land of the Larrakia, where I work at Charles Darwin University. And sorry I won't make it to Kaurna country to join your ceremony, but thank you very much for the honour of this award and appreciation for the work that we do. I'm also sorry I won't get to see my Nguranjeri colleague down there and share our stories of embedding. I'm a Currawong from the southern and eastern states of Australia, so I'm way off country, but working with very strong cultures and the dreaming stories that will help our First Nations students feel comfortable at university and other students to develop their own personal narrative of learning at higher education. And what does it mean for this process? What are the indicators that we need to be careful of in our learning? So thank you very much for the award, and I do hope you have a great ceremony.
So congratulations again, Kat. I'd now like to invite my good friend and colleague, Professor Romy Lawson from Flinders University, to help me present the next award. So we congratulate Flinders University, from Flinders University, the Anatomy Assessment Design Team. The team members are Dr. Jusan Machusika, Associate Professor Christine Barry, Professor Rainier Haberbega, and Professor Helen Anscombe. For their citation, Effective Authentic Assessment Strategies in a Cadaveric Dissection Program that Scaffold Development of Critical, Anatomical, Clinical and Professionalism Skills for Future Medical Practitioners. But now, because we're playing musical presenters, it's my pleasure to invite from the University of Adelaide, Professor Jennie Shaw, to help me present the next award. Congratulations to Associate Professor Ben McCann from the University of Adelaide. Ben's citation is for innovative, culturally rich learning and teaching strategies that promote a sense of belonging to their discipline and subsequent job readiness for film studies students. Thank you, Jennie. I now invite, it's like, who? Oh, I know. Distinguished Professor Marnie Hughes-Warrington from the University of South Australia to help me present the following citations. So, congratulations first to Dr. Chelsea Cutting from the University of South Australia. Chelsea's citation is for embedding digital responsive micro-teaching as a formative feedback strategy to enhance pre-service teachers' learning experiences in mathematics education in the online learning environment. Congratulations, Chelsea. Our next citation recipients are Early Career Award winners. Congratulations to Jimit Gandhi and Christy Tate from the University of South Australia. For their innovative design and implementation of immersive, patient-centred placement experiences, empowering pharmacy students to actively engage and contribute to healthcare whilst developing essential skills. The next winners, also from the University of South Australia. How many did you get, Marnie?
5.
Would that be 5? Is the Conservative Management of Pelvic Organs Prolapse Teaching and Coordination Team. If you could make your way up. The team is Dr. Sophie Leifman, Dr. Patricia Newman, Dr. Rebecca Dass, Dr. James Chalmers and Ms. Alison Bell from the University of South Australia. And the citation is for pioneering the innovative tertiary level training of postgraduate physiotherapy students in conservative management of pelvic organ prolapse pressury care, I hope. Congratulations, team. Our next award winner, who unfortunately can't be with us this evening, is Dr. Paula Rowe, also from the University of South Australia. Paula's citation is for leadership in online teaching approaches that enable students in equity groups to build confidence and improve learning outcomes in the online human service courses. May I present it to you?
Sorry, that's better.
Thanks, Marnie. One final recipient for a citation of outstanding contributions to student learning from the University of South Australia is the Fire and Culture Teaching Team. Team members are Professor Darlene Webber and Ms. Jane Bosey, again, from the University of South Australia. The citation is for using two-way learning to build student recognition of and respect for Aboriginal knowledges and the need for a different approach to Australian fire management. So congratulations to all the Citation Award winners. I'll now ask Graham to come back to the lectern because we move to the next stage of the feast.
Thank you, Sally, and congratulations on your pronunciation. And congratulations from me to all the award winners for your efforts. Well done, everybody. I'd like now to introduce Professor Jennie Shaw, Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Vice President Academic, the University of Adelaide, who will facilitate this evening's panel. Welcome, Jennie.
Great. Thank you, Graham, and welcome everyone. It's always terrific to see a great audience at these events. Lots of clapping. It's terrific. Keep it up. So, I'm really thrilled to be here tonight to help celebrate our exceptional educators across all of our universities who've received National Teaching Awards in 2024. As Graham said, I have the privilege of facilitating tonight's panel. So, please welcome our panellists. I might get you to come up all together and choose your seats. And while you're getting settled, I'm going to introduce you. Our first panellist is Professor Marnie Hughes-Warrington, AO. Now, Marnie is Provost and Chief Academic Officer and Standing Acting Vice-Chancellor and Bradley Distinguished Professor at the University of South Australia. A Rhodes Scholar, Marnie studied history, philosophy and education at Oxford University and the University of Tasmania and worked at the University of Washington, Seattle before returning to Australia. Apart from the Prime Minister's Prize for University Teacher of the Year in 2008, she also holds a number of other national awards and grants, including ARC and ALTC grants and an ALTC Teaching Excellence Award for Humanities and the Arts. She brings extensive experience in creating and renewing curricula and encourages students to see themselves as agents of global change. And I just wonder if we could welcome Marnie. Thank you. Now, you've already met Professor Sally Kift, but I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about Sally. So Professor Sally Kift is a Principal Fellow of the Higher Education Academy, a Fellow of the Australian Academy of Law and President of the Australian Learning and Teaching Fellows, or the ALTF. Sally is a National Teaching Award winner, a Senior Teaching Fellow and a Discipline Scholar in Law. She was a member of the AQF review panel that reported to government in September 2019, and since 2017 she's been working as an independent higher education consultant, and she now also chairs the corporate boards of the 7 Navitas colleges in the University Partnerships Australasia division. So welcome again, Sally. And our third panellist is Professor Romy Lawson. So Romy is the Senior Deputy Vice-Chancellor at Flinders University. In 2013, Romy was awarded a National OLT Teaching Fellowship for work on curriculum design for assuring learning. And she's been an Associate Editor for the Herd Journal, Senior Editor for the Journal of University of Teaching and Learning Practice, and she has held executive roles with national associations, a few too many to list here, but I will mention HERDSA and the ALTF. She's currently a member of Advanced HE Leadership and Management Advisory Board, Chair of the My Equal Steering Committee, Universities Australia DVCA Chair, Co-Chair of Universities Australia Women, a Study Adelaide Board Member, SATAC Board Member, and a member of the Australian Centre for Student Equity and Success Trials and Evaluation Project Steering Committee. That's a mouthful. So, welcome, Romy. Now, I'm going to think big picture here. We've just all had a federal election. Everyone's still thinking big picture because you can't think small picture when we don't know the details yet, right? So just a big picture question to start off with. So do you believe the Australian Awards for University Teaching have influenced the overall quality of higher education in Australia? And if so, how? And I'm going to throw that to any one of you. Who would like to start?
I've just been told I am. So, and you know. I'll ask a question to the people winning an award today. How many of you do what you do to win an award? You don't, do you? You know, I've read what's on the websites around, you know, our award winners, and the word that pops out all the time is passion. It's passion to support students. It's passion to inspire students. It's passion to lead others, to help them develop and grow. And that's what it's all about. It's about raising awareness, and it's about giving a platform, I think, to learning and teaching and what quality learning and teaching and student experience looks like. And by giving awards and being able to publicise them, we're able to raise that awareness. We're able to influence people to say this is important to us as a sector. And we're there to inspire people, those early career people who know that actually this is part of their role as an academic going through. So I think that's what they do. It's not about the little trophy on the shelf. It's about the wraparound that we get from it.
They're not such little trophies either. But I just want to say, Marnie, do you want to add to that?
I'm a bit biased, but I want to say that for us, every award recognises every student that we've made a difference to. Every award recognises the inspiration that we give our colleagues. Every award recognises the transformational impact of education in our society and our economy. That's as simple as that. Why wouldn't we recognise the most important award? There's lots of awards out there, but this one is the one I think that makes the biggest difference. And so I do think it makes a difference. It's important to be seen. It's important to mentor. It's important to recognise. But what do we recognise? We recognise great teachers, but we are recognising all those transformational outcomes that we have driven in the sector to change society and the economy for the better.
Great.
And we can claim the election win as well on the weekend. And so that's part of it.
Let's pass to Sally. Now, you're going to be biased, of course, because you're part of the National Committee, but I'd love to hear that perspective.
So excellence is inspiring. You've already heard some of it tonight, and there's more to come. It's also about, and I'm sorry, this is a bit boring for people outside universities, but the parity of esteem between teaching and research, the recognition and reward and acknowledgement of the day job of universities around learning and teaching is not something to be taken for granted. And I think this is why the awards are so important. It elevates the status of teaching. It becomes a virtuous cycle, I think. It builds capability and it's motivating, and success breeds success. There's been research done that shows that award winners have increased confidence. We've got like Exhibit A sitting down the end here, Marnie Hughes-Warrington. I think you were a senior lecturer when you won your National Teaching Award, and then in 2008, I put a number to it, the Prime Minister's Teaching Award, and Marnie hasn't looked back one day ever since, I don't think, and risen to dizzy heights here. So it is about increased confidence, in willingness to innovate, sharing your knowledge, promoting, as we have with SANTPEN here, networks and communities of practice. The sharing of good practice cannot be underestimated either. So, yeah, that's a bit of a yes from me then.
Well, and
I'd like to award dress.
I'd like to add to that, because I think all of you have been involved in the sector, because actually the government pulled the funding from these awards some years ago.
In 2016.
Yeah. And you know, they thought it was a nice to have, and it was actually the universities, particularly through the DVCA's group, that got together and said, actually, these are more than a nice to have. It's really important that we do, and Marnie, I'll go to your point too, that we do actually signal recognition of our great teaching staff and our great pedagogies, as well as our great research. So it's actually the universities collectively that have got together and restarted these awards. So I think it's really come from the community recognition amongst all our higher education sector colleagues that these are really important for lots of things. Now, I'm going to turn now to a really big question, which is the accord. Okay, so some of you will know we have an accord out there. It's the new Labor government, but it was the previous Labor government has initiated this, brought it in, and it's successively being legislated as we speak. But it emphasises the need to enhance the quality of teaching and learning across Australia's higher education sector, amongst many other things that it does. And this includes recognising and rewarding teaching excellence and innovation. So focusing particularly on teaching and on learning, I wonder if you would like to address how can we address the ambition of the Accord and lift the value of teaching and learning within our own institutions. Romy, I won't let you start first this time round, so anyone else like to have a first go?
I'll have a go.
Sally, go ahead.
So flippantly, I would say we could act like it's important and treat it seriously. The Accord did in themselves identify a range of measures which have received varying levels of grateful response, as you could imagine. The Accord wants a more expanded sector with much higher representation of equity-deserving students, because that's how, and Marnie's already touched on this, that's how we build the national future, skills through equity. That's the social and economic fabric of the society. The Accord said they wanted better metrics and data, and they talked about revising the student experience survey and also introducing a survey of teachers, which would be not unhelpful perhaps, more peer review of teaching, big ideas around teaching quality, the status and professionalisation of it. Suggested, and this will come as a great shock to a number of people, that people who teach in universities should have an initial teacher education. That was said to be encouraged in the Accord, so encourage away. But they did say that we should deliver high quality professional development because we are a profession. This is what we do is passion, and we get a lot out of that on that basis, but it is a profession also, and it should be a valued profession, which requires us to be keeping up to date. Of course, the tragedy around that is there was already, and I'm sorry kids, there's already a requirement in the Higher Education Standards Framework around keeping current with your teaching practice. So, again, perhaps a little idea, TEXA could enforce that. The Accord also, and I shouldn't let this pass, and I almost did, I can't believe I did, the Accord also recommended, and it's recommendation because I'm a nerd, recommendation 30, little h, Roman numerals 3, a new Learning and Teaching Council. So we hope that now with the new government, which was the old government, and the establishment going ahead of the Australian Tertiary Education Commission, that a Learning and Teaching Council might be re-established. We could also stop learning and teaching units being disestablished in universities, which is happening across the sector. And my actual favourite new hero, the Productivity Commissioner, who's got very strong views on all of this, seems to think, shocking news again, that we should put the excellence of teaching at the centre of the sector. They've delivered, the Productivity Commission has a fact sheet on this. And she has said, and she's called on TEXA, the national regulator, the Tertiary Education Quality and Standards Agency, and the federal government, to address the lack of direct incentive for teachers and universities to improve teaching quality. She's quoted in the Accord talking about laggards amongst the university sector who just aren't incentivised to improve teaching practice. So she goes down the same route, that we should professionalise teaching, that we need to introduce incentives, reward and recognition, and, oh my goodness, fund research and development into learning and teaching. Happy days. So she also says that TEXA, the regulator, should perhaps undertake broad quality reviews of teaching practices at a university level. That'd be interesting. And do a good practice note on teaching quality. So all of those. Choose your own adventure. I'd be happy with, 5 of them.
Now, that's a hard act to follow. Very, very comprehensive, Sally. Romy, have a go.
Yeah. Excellent answer. A+, Sally. Well done, you. But I'm actually going to quote you from your senior fellowship when you were looking at curriculum design. I remember when I worked with you at James Cook, you used to say all the time, if you want it to count, as in, all the different skills, etc., we want our students to come out with, you have to include it. It can't just be an add-on on the side, a bolt-on. And I think that that's the case with what we have to do within the universities. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be included. We need to have academic profiles for when we appoint people that actually have expectations around what they should be able to do in the learning and teaching space. We should have ways that we are continually developing people and supporting people in their learning and teaching practice and their scholarship of that. We should be making sure we're rewarding and recognising properly, and that we're giving promotions that are equally weighted around both research and teaching, where it is a balanced role. And, we should also be, and this goes back to your point, Sally, lots of universities have this phrase, are they research active? It's a conversation. Is that person research active? Has anyone heard at their university, are they teaching active? Are they continually developing themselves and going through that practice? Lots of professions do that. They have the CPD routes, and it's an expectation. We don't expect it from our teaching community, and we should. It's something that we're learning every day, and we should expect that.
Okay. During the Accord, True Confessions, I was on the research working party. So if you're part of the problem, you should be part of the solution, right? Yeah. And the conversations were really taking people down a pathway and saying, I want you to have a look at the Australian Stock Exchange right now and tell me how old those companies are in the top 100. They're all over 100 years old. And how many of them are actually domiciled in South Australia? 1. What's the nature of the economy in Australia? Most of the firms are small to medium size. That's fine. That suits some people. But our economy is quite fragile. And in fact, it's gone backwards in terms of complexity. So we're now level with Uganda in terms of economic complexity. That's the context, right? So that's the context in which we're having the conversation. How do we get from where we are right now to having a stock exchange where there's some new companies on there? We've got an equivalent of the NASDAQ. How do we do that? How do we move forward? Well, no doubt in my mind, when industry comes to see you, the first thing we want to talk about is talent pipeline, expertise and skills. The conversation doesn't start with research, and I say that as a former DVCR, it starts with training, pipeline, talent. But the two things go together. So one of the opportunities with the Accord is to, I'm going to be really bold, stop seeing these two things separately. See it from the outside in and ask ourselves what it's going to take to move our economy forward and get better wage and conditions for our workers as a consequence. And that's growing firms. And we grow firms through innovation, through education, expertise, through training. These are the things we do. So we have to work together. We have to focus on those things. And it is a real pleasure to work with growing firms in South Australia, to see the ones that have gone from 4 workers to 200. That's where we need to be. And we need to be doing it together. So my big read is the Accord's a big project, lots of recommendations, but it comes down to something really simple for me, which is what does the society see when they look inside universities? What's their expectation? And what do we do in order to make sure that there are those high quality jobs for people, that they are getting good wages and conditions, and that actually the economy that we're growing is one that's recognising country, respectful to our environment, and really future focused. So a lot of things were said in the Accord, but for me it's actually a lot simpler than that. How do we get ourselves out of a cost of living crisis? How do we get to a place where we're caring for country? How do we get to a place where that stock exchange is reflecting newness and boldness?
I'm going to stay with you, Marnie, because I'm going even bigger with my last question, which is, what do you think, I'll ask it of each of you, but what do you think is the most significant challenge facing the higher education sector in Australia at the moment? And what would be the one thing you'd do to try and fix it?
I think the failure to recognise research and education as belonging together and being ambidextrous. I always talk about, those two hands are interlocking and not seeing that and allowing, therefore, we talk about diversification of students all the time. We don't talk about diversification of staff and how powerful that is for our health and well-being. We have industry professors, teaching intensives, but we need to be able to enable a framework where people can move between those things in their career, that they can have different phases, that they feel like they're contributing, and we're all in one game together. That is our biggest challenge at the moment. I feel like we've got two stories going on, and I don't know that those stories being disconnected is actually helping Australia. That's what I call, yeah?
Romy?
I'll keep it short. I think there's a lack of shut up. I think there's a lack of trust in universities at the moment, and that means that even though there's a lot of legislation that's going through that has great intentions to it, it means it's causing a lot of busy work within the university that's taking time and energy away from the important things, which is students, because we're having to do all this wraparound stuff. So I think the answer to that is us keeping on reaching out and trying to work side by side with the government to help them understand us, help them to understand how we work, what our rhythms are as a university, so that these good intentions can actually be executed in a way that makes the most sense and we can be most productive for our students.
Last word on this one.
All right. So I'd like to self-plagiarise and resubmit my answer to the previous question, but taking it more seriously. And I think when we look at what's happening internationally, and particularly in the US, and we saw how fragile the diversity, equity and inclusion agenda over there is, and we think about how close we came, without getting overly political about this, how close we came on the weekend to potentially going down that route, my big push for university now is to embed universal design across every interaction we have between staff and students, by which I mean we build the structures and cultures and policies and processes such that everyone is accommodated up front, so that we don't have to keep making special accommodations and special adjustments. If that sounds too hard, let's just do it in learning and teaching and redesign our curriculum. There was a big report done last year looking at what were the good equity interventions across the sector. There's a lot of money gone into diversity, equity, inclusion, which we just call equity in Australia, and we've really tried hard but haven't shifted the dial on equity. This report said that we know, and I do want to quote from it, although inclusive educational design, pedagogy, curriculum assessment for student equity is highlighted as essential, there is a large gap in practice and a lack of strategy and structure at both the national and institutional level. So that's the sum of billions of dollars going into equity. What we need to do is focus on curriculum and curriculum redesign. Design that so that it's accessible, inclusive, flexible, it accommodates all students, and we work out from that. And then, if I was in Miss World mode, I'd also say let's end student poverty as well, because that's actually the biggest equity barrier.
And world peace.
Sorry?
World peace.
Yes, and world peace, yes, but student poverty first, I think.
Look, thank you very much. That ends the formal panel discussion for tonight, but of course you'll have time to quiz the three of these very knowledgeable women at the front here after the formal part of the ceremony. So I'd really just like to ask you to join me in thanking Sally and Romy and Marnie. Thank you.
And Jennie.
Pleasure. And I'm now going to invite Graham to come back and continue his role as our very experienced MC. Thank you, Graham.
May I stay?
Thank you, Jennie, and thank you for your intriguing questions, and thanks to the panel for your fulsome answers. Amazing, thank you. Now we will continue with the awards ceremony, and Professor Sally Kift will announce the 2024 award for programmes that enhance learning. Sally.
Sorry, this wasn't supposed to be a Sally show. So thanks, Graham, Marnie and Romy and Jennie for that. So on the programs that enhance learning, just 4 were selected in 2024 for the whole of Australia, and 1 was awarded in South Australia. And so I'm thrilled to present this next award, and it's my pleasure to invite Professor Romy Lawson back to the front of the room to help me present the next award. Congratulations on this wonderful achievement. The program award goes to the Flinders University STEM Work Integrated Learning Program team. If the members could make their way up, please. Dr. Thomas Vincent, Dr. Valak Subject Kafkov, Mrs. Nalini Klopp, Miss Colleen Michelini, Jessica Venning, Sasha Lemon-Spence, Larissa Pearce. Congratulations all. For their work-integrated programs that value and enhance student employability. I'd now like to announce the successful recipients for the Australian Awards for University Teaching Excellence Awards. This award recognises and rewards educators who are renowned for excellence of their teaching, who possess outstanding presentation skills, and who have made that broad and deep contribution to enhancing the quality of learning and teaching. Awardees exemplify leadership through their sustained commitment to innovation, delivery of high-quality teaching, and unwavering dedication to improving the student experience and learning outcomes. South Australia, I don't know, I think this might have been rigged. South Australia recipients in 2024 received 3 out of 4 national awards. something in the water. And that's an absolute achievement. And I observed in a workshop that we ran early today, these sorts of outcomes don't happen by accident. There is something in the water. There's something in the universities. It augurs well for the big merger coming up, and it puts all of the rest of us nationally on notice, I think. We've been very afraid now. All right, so to present the first of these three awardees, and I think you also did it very well because there's one across each institution. So nicely organised, people. I now present the first of the three awardees, invite them to provide a short presentation. Professor Jennie Shaw to again join with me in presenting the award, and the process is we'll recognise the award and there'll be a short presentation from the awardee. I'd like to congratulate Associate Professor Claudia Szabo from the University of Adelaide. The Teaching Excellence Awards are awarded in disciplines, and Claudia's Teaching Excellence Award is in Engineering, Information Technology, Architecture and Building. Now, how do we do this? On the chairs. We have chairs. We have all the furniture. So thank you. So now Claudia is going to give us a quick presentation.
Yes, well, I'm aiming for brief. We'll see how we go. Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me here. Now, I was told to talk about something that I'm really proud of and also about any challenges that I have found along the way. So I'll let you figure out which one of these is which. But before I begin, I'd like to thank SANTPEN and AAUT for organizing the awards and for all the constructive feedback and suggestions received. Obviously, the University of Adelaide Teaching Excellence team as well for supporting learning and teaching, and the amazing learning and teaching culture within the School of Computer and Mathematical Sciences, and all the many staff that contribute to that. And last but not least, Professor Voula, the head of school for CMS, for having learning and teaching excellence at the core of his vision and supporting our culture. Now, a bit of a background. Programming is the building block, I would say, for the majority of the computer science and IT disciplines. You'll see this as a critical skill in a lot of professions. And it is a bit, when you learn a programming language, it is a bit like you're learning a foreign language. So you need to know the syntax, the semantics, the grammar of it. But unlike a foreign language that, let's say, you go into a country and you can get away with the grammar of a toddler and similar vocabulary and you can point stuff, in programming, you either know how to program or you don't. It's very binary. And the journey of actually learning a programming language is very personal. So it's very contextualized to the student experience. So within this setting, we had a vision of teaching introductory programming in a way that allows students to achieve mastery of critical skills before they move on to more difficult skills. And we wanted to be able to support students as they go through these skills, and also to think about how we can have how we can allow students to build up and learn additional desired skills. So, for example, they might learn programming in one language, and then they might learn programming in another one, or maybe they want to learn specifics. Now, again, I've talked about the team. This is an amazing team that has made all of this happen as well. So then, where we arrived from this vision is two things. So first of all, we used mastery learning as a key pedagogical approach. And this one has allowed students to practice their skills with extensive support, and also allow them to move from one skill to another only once they have really understood, and once we're sure that they have really mastered them. This also allows us to personalize support to a student as they're going through this adventure. And I also had this vision of having a modular plug-and-play course structure where you can have a lot of modules that the students can take. Obviously, there would be foundational modules, and then there would be others that they might take based on their professional aspirations. So this was the vision. We had to fit this vision into the structures of a university semester, which is sometimes can be a little bit challenging. So this is where we arrived, in that we have modules, there's a number of tests. I apologize, those are actually different shades of green, which happens to be my favorite color. So there's modules. At the end of each module, students take a test. They can only move from one module to another if they've passed. And as they're going through, students are really supported to address the specific skills that we've identified. And because learning how to program at this level is very binary, we put in a non-graded pass to this course. So students either pass or they don't. And delivering these courses was an iterative adventure in the sense that we gathered feedback from students, we trained our tutors, we trained the teaching team, and we also shared success stories with students and with the university. I will say this structure of modules is quite foreign in computer science and IT. The idea of a non-graded pass similarly is quite foreign. So you can imagine how students felt about the courses in the beginning. And all I can say about this is that this shows a dramatic and absolute excellent increase in student satisfaction. But really the thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that we can see, we can measure, and we have obviously a lot of evidence about this. We can see a significant drop in subsequent failure rates in all the courses that then define a student's profession. So I think definitely all the work and the investment that we have put in these courses is worthwhile. And as we can see also, students enjoyed the process very, very much. So this was the journey so far. This is where we are now. And in particular, I think generative AI tools have an absolute outstanding potential for automated support for our students. However, they are extremely harmful for beginners because beginners have, especially when they learn a new programming language, the code that a generative AI tool generates is not fit for purpose for a beginner. Students do not understand what it is, don't understand its quality, attributes, or lack thereof. So then they don't know when to use it. But the potential is there, and I like us to focus on the positive, as is the potential in our next current adventure in integrating generative AI within the curriculum. So that means both automated tool support, but also designing courses in such a way that students can practice skills with and without the learning wheels that a guardrailed Gen AI tool can offer. Now, I can talk about this until the cows come home. I won't. This is a QR code. That's my email. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Claudia. That's daunting to have to try and encapsulate that in 5 minutes, but amazing work. Gosh, it almost makes me want to go and do that thing, which is that whole other part of my brain that has never worked. So now I'd like to invite Professor Romy Lawson to come forward to help me present the next awards, please. So please join with me in congratulating Associate Professor Voula Gaganis from Flinders University. And Voula's Teaching Excellence Award is in the health discipline. I'm going to take that for you.
This one here. Okay. Great, thank you very much. And thank you also, I'm very grateful to the AAUT for recognising my work. Very big thank you. I also wanted to thank my institution, Flinders University, for providing me with the opportunities that I've had. I've been very lucky over the last 20 years to have had a lot of diverse opportunities. I'd like to thank the College of Medicine and Public Health, who've also supported me, trusted me with their students. And I'd like to thank my students as well for trusting me with all the innovations. Thanks to my family, my daughters and my mum are here to support me here tonight. So I too was asked to speak about my work, and then I thought I might do a little twist actually and present something a little bit different, and share with you something that was a little bit interesting that happened to me the day after I found out that I'd been awarded this award. So I'm starting with this slide here, and it's a picture of me in the early 80s as a reception student in the western suburbs at St John Bosco Primary School. And I always loved learning. I loved learning at a young age, and I still love learning. And this is a picture of me in the physiology labs, where I spend most of my time with many hundreds of students, teaching them our core concepts of physiology. So loved learning from an early age. So this is the question that I had put to me in the top right-hand corner from a very esteemed colleague. And she said to me, "So, Voula, what did you get this award for?" And I was a little bit taken aback, and I was thinking, this application was massive. How do I possibly even summarise what I did in a sentence or a response? I didn't have my elevator pitch at all because it was such a big application. And I've listed a number of things that were in my application, but I'm not going to go through them all. Suffice to say, I'm from the College of Medicine and Public Health, and my education I guess relates back to medical science. But where it all started is it starts with who you are, and I'd like to talk about what it actually takes to put this kind of Teaching Excellence Award together. And it's not necessarily about the 1, 2 or 3 different things that you do over a course of years and provide a trajectory into all of those things. It actually is you as an educator, and encapsulating all of that in the application. So these are the things that contribute to me as an educator and who I am today, and my teaching practice, which is what I wrote about in my application. So I am born to a father from Greece who migrated in the early 60s, and actually what a lot of people don't know about me is that my first language wasn't actually English, it was Greek. So I went to primary school and had to learn English. So not only first in family, but also from a culturally and linguistically diverse background. And so what that has done in terms of inspiring me as an educator is it's influenced my teaching approach. It's given me inspiration through seeing those challenges from coming from a CALD family, to be patient with all students, and that everyone comes with their own unique life world. But my inspiration didn't just come from my family. I also had excellent mentors in the university at Flinders as my PhD supervisor, Kathy Knights, in pharmacology. I'm a pharmacology researcher by background. And what that actually did was her approach for me was very inclusive. She created an incredible sense of belonging, and I really loved working in her lab. And she worked side by side with me, which is an affordance that not many PhD students have. So in terms of my teaching practice, what that brought to me was to engage with my students and to make sure that I passed that on. Those experiences, those formative experiences really shaped me as an educator. So in terms of my teaching practice, I ensure that I build a rapport with my students. We have barbecues, we get together, we chat. My colleagues and I will go to graduations, we'll take photos with them and with their families, and we'll share those experiences. And that really does help in terms of the student experience, but it also helps me as an educator because it reminds me on a daily basis why it is that we're here, and it is for the students. And I think that's been established earlier. We do it for the students. We also have an incredible community of practice, and none of this is done alone. Yes, I'm up here accepting an award, but it is on behalf of the colleagues. I've got colleagues here tonight, Christine, Helen, Dushan, Helen, 2 Helens. We work together, and we build each other, we cheerlead, we have a competitive spirit among us, we lift each other. And that is something that is something that builds a tapestry of our teaching practice. We share, we come up with innovations together, and we think, what can we do better for the students? And in doing so, we not only build ourselves, but we also build our sphere of influence as well. This is a photo of the teaching specialist community of practice that we started when we came on board as the first teaching specialists in the university about 8 years ago, and we're still going strong. I wanted to show this slide because I actually did go to UniSA for my undergrad. So I've got this picture up here when we took it at the School of Pharmacy and Medical Sciences many, many years ago. And I wanted to show that as part of being an educator and that whole educator, it is looking at your network. And that network started for me right back then because I'm pictured with colleagues who are currently professors at Flinders and who are interstate. And we are on a national task force with one of my peers in that photo. So your networks start early. And it's such a great thing to be able to look back and say that, we started way back then at UniSA at the School of Pharmacy, and we're still working together and doing some great things in education. I also had a lot of years where I trialled a lot of different ways to teach because I didn't have any formal teaching qualifications, and that was something that always bothered me. Coming as a PhD in pharmacology, I liked learning, and I did find it a bit challenging to learn difficult things, and so I appreciated how my mentors and my educators actually supported me to teach. So I spent over 10 years honing my teaching practice and developing my teaching practice through reflection and reflexivity. So that also is part of who I am as an educator. Another thing that I think the application and putting application together helped me realise is how much I bring my discipline research into my teaching practice. So I excelled in pharmacology research. I was able to publish in really high quality journals and the evidence base was always at the centre of what I was doing in my discipline research. So in my education, in my teaching practice, in the job that I do today, I bring that expertise into my teaching because my true passion and my true discovery was actually that I loved being an educator. And so what that's done is it's allowed me to connect with those networks that I made really early on. Yes, from UniSA, but those colleagues have now moved on to very different places around the world, around Australia. And we've come together to build our Scholarship of Teaching and Learning community. And so while I might not be first author in a lot of these papers, I might be second, third or fourth author. That network and that community that has come together has helped me be a better educator. And that, again, is part of who I am as an educator today. I'm on a national task force working with most of the universities in Australia on establishing the first core concepts in physiology to be disseminated into the Australian universities as soon as we finish them. I've also been fortunate at Flinders that I've taken up lots of opportunities, and my advice to people putting applications in is just say yes to any leadership opportunities that come your way and have an interest in a lot of different aspects of university life. As we've seen in the panel today, there's so many things that influence the way that universities work, whether it's international or whether it's working, in an educational leadership role. There's always different perspectives to be had and different opportunities to take on. So take risks, I think, is one of my big things when I mentor people putting these applications together. Make sure that you put your hand up for different things, and it will give you a different perspective that will influence your teaching practice. So I did mention earlier that one of the things that bothered me a lot was that I wasn't from an education background. So that didn't stop me, though. I did get my master's in education. You can see Michelle Pickard standing there with me at my graduation not long ago to fill those gaps and make sure that I was, the best educator that I could be. So the teaching practice aspect of that is don't be too concerned about having to go back. It's actually an indulgent thing to go and learn. And as I said, I still love learning. And the other thing that I did along the way is made sure that I evidenced my teaching and made sure that I was able to build up from really early on through teaching in medical course as a problem-based learning tutor as a casual for about 15 years to build that portfolio and to evidence what I've done. So one of the challenges that people have, I think, in putting these teaching applications together is evidencing their work. And I was very fortunate that I was able to do that along the way. We'll go back one. So thank you very much, and very grateful for everyone's support along the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Voula. That was amazing. And I think this is our last award for the evening. So if I could have Professor Marnie Hughes-Warrington please come forward again. And the final award that we're celebrating tonight is from the University of South Australia. It's the Critical Enabling Pedagogy team, Dr. Sarah Hattam and Tanya Weiler. And their Teaching Excellence Award is in education. So do you want to put your awards down? Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Excellent. So good to be here.
It is.
Yes. I'm Sarah Hattam. This is Tanya Weiler. When we talk about collaboration and working with others, Tanya and I have worked together for now 10 years. And I think this award is a combination of our work and our leadership in the context that we teach. So we teach in an enabling program, which is a pathway program, and it offers opportunities for learners who haven't taken traditional pathways into university to access higher education. So UniSA established UniSA College in 2011, and originally it was an experiment. We were a kind of a pilot project to see if we could engage and support learners who hadn't finished Year 12 for various reasons, had particular obstacles, who could be successful in our programs, and they were. So I've been employed there from 2011. Tanya came a couple of years later. Yep. And we work with a large group now of really passionate educators. And again, when we talk about collaboration, we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the willingness of our very big academic team now, who have believed in our vision, and our vision that was set by our leaders. And I want to make special mention now, so thank you to SANTPEN and AAUT for hosting tonight and for our award, and thank you to our mentors. And we've had a few very special mentors. I would first like to thank Professor Sharon King, who is our Dean of Programs, for providing us with that environment and space to have innovations, to pursue and I guess experiments with our teaching and with the staff. To Professor Deirdre Temanson as well as a mentor for us. Deirdre, where are you? There she is. Deirdre, thank you, Deirdre. Also for supporting us on our journey, and also to my father, Emeritus Professor Robert Hattam, who fundamentally supported and introduced us to a theory of teaching, which is critical pedagogy. This is a theory of education and the way that we can approach our students that asks us to pay attention to the way that power operates in education institutions and also within the classroom environment. And that has been really important to the way that we teach and the way that we have developed a framework. So over to you, Tanya.
Yes. She's gone off script on me.
I have, sorry.
That's all right.
We've created this framework. Actually, no, I'll keep going.
Keep going. Continue.
Okay. So through the work of our mentors and our reading of educational theory, we developed this framework, and this is called our Critical Enabling Pedagogy Framework. So we are the CEP team, so I won't use the pedagogy word anymore, I'll just say CEP. So CEP demands a holistic view of the student and is underpinned by a teaching philosophy of social justice, where education is both a fundamental human right and a form of empowerment for both social mobility and societal betterment. CEP is a robust teaching approach to embrace challenges faced by educators in increasingly diverse university classrooms. Enacting this tailored pedagogical approach can enhance engagement and retention and uncover the hidden curriculum of higher education. SEP challenges a deficit view of students by centring them in teaching and curriculum and leverages their existing knowledges to provide an effective approach for diverse cohorts. Because often what happens when students who have not completed Year 12 and perhaps come with particular knowledge gaps or skill gaps are framed as a deficit. And what we've really tried to do in our teaching framework is to avoid that deficit. SEP transforms both educators and students by promoting a democratic and dialogic learning environment underpinned by an ethic of care where tasks are challenging and assessment is scaffolded. As a team, we utilise SEP not only to support students' success, but also to empower staff to improve their teaching using this pedagogical approach. Beyond enabling programs, we have taught undergraduate cohorts in their respective disciplines of business and sociology and created specialised programs for other demographic subgroups to participate in higher education.
So it hasn't been enough just to create a framework. We needed to share this with our colleagues. So this slide provides some details of the impact of the professional development initiatives that we've created and expanded to increase the uptake of critical enabling pedagogy across UniSA. So these specifically on the slide refer to two of our initiatives, namely Teaching Squares and Researching While Teaching. So Teaching Squares provides an opportunity to enhance individual teaching by deprivatising the teaching space and giving an opportunity for educators to critically reflect on their own teaching. So grounded in the principles of confidential reciprocity, mutual respect, appreciation and self-referential reflection, Teaching Squares were fostered initially in the Teaching Innovation Unit where I experienced this, and then I thought it was such a fantastic idea we had to pinch it and share it across Education Futures. So we started with 40 participants who were involved across various areas of the university, and that's contributed to enhancing individual teaching evaluations, building cross-institutional networks, and further promoting discussions about high-quality, student-centred teaching. This has now been championed across the university by other colleagues who've chosen to expand this and impact this in their respective academic units. The second of our initiatives is the Researching While Teaching series, which involves a series of workshops where educators come together to address a teaching challenge that they're facing in their classrooms by applying SEP and then evaluating how this shifts their teaching practice. So at the time of this award application, the Researching While Teaching series involved 58 colleagues at UniSA, and beyond influencing teaching practice to the benefit of students, it's also resulted in significant numbers of scholarly outputs where we can see that teaching and research has really come together. This has included a collective book from academics at UniSA College, as well as 65 conference presentations and 6 journal articles. In addition, participants involved in the Researching While Teaching series have also successfully won teaching and learning grants, citations, been recognised as advanced higher education fellows, and also been promoted. Beyond UniSA, we've also expanded, or Sarah has really championed the Researching While Teaching and expanded that to include a national network of educators across Australian universities. But we didn't think it was enough to just stick with UniSA. We wanted national domination. So building more inclusive classroom practice is something Sarah and I fundamentally are committed to extending beyond UniSA. And so therefore, we increased the uptake of SEP through the creation of 4 bespoke online modules available for educators worldwide. Hosted in Learn Online but accessible internationally, there are 4 modules which include one on the importance of belonging and recognition of capability in higher education, another module on the constructions of capability in higher education, a third module which supports student transition into higher education using critical enabling pedagogy, and the 4th module being about building a community of practice of socially just educators in higher education. So as you can see on the slide, over 100 educators worldwide, this is external to UniSA, this data, have completed each of these modules with over 150 educators engaging in module number 1. Which is specifically about belonging and recognition. So we're working to continue to build this impact and hope that more educators internationally participate in this unique professional development opportunity. This is a really slow process, but it is something we continue to expand, and only today we learned of our success in being invited to present this to colleagues in the UK through an Advanced HE Symposium in Inclusive Pedagogy.
I would also like to shout out a special thanks to Associate Professor David Burbeck in the Teaching Innovation Unit for your support over the last year, David. I think that this probably wouldn't have come to fruition if it wasn't for your support, so thank you so much. And also to you, Tanya,
Sarah.
for your heavy work with the application.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So when we were invited to present, part of the Teaching Excellence Award asks that participants or applicants provide some supporting evidence of what they've done, and that includes a PDF of up to 10 pages, of which you've seen some of the slides from, but it also includes a 3-minute testimonial video from others who've been influenced by the work that the application is for. And we thought that while we can present on it, we thought it might be nice to share the voice of some of the other people who have been influenced by our work.
And before we press play, I just want to say also that we do dedicate this award to a former student. His name is Tony Castanis, and you'll see him speaking in the video now, who actually passed away in January this year after finishing foundation studies with us successfully, very successfully, in spite of all of his doubts about himself and his capabilities. He finished with a very high GPA, went into a Bachelor of Sociology, and here you will see the generosity of him as he's contributed to this testimonial and is a wonderful exemplar of the transformative potential of the SEP framework. So this is for Tony. Critical Enabling Pedagogy, or SEP, a collective pedagogy developed at UniSA College and adopted more broadly across UniSA and increasingly across Australia, centres the student to counter deficit positioning, which, if left unchecked, can disempower students and reinforce structural inequalities.
Through adopting SEP in our teaching, across program design and in professional development activities, we've worked to develop a national impact to address this problem, to instead create teaching spaces that are more inclusive and empowering for students and educators.
Not only have Sarah and Tanya made a great impact on their students, they're also outstanding leaders of research-informed teaching at our university and across Australia. Sarah and Tanya have brought together hundreds of colleagues to research their practice to take up critical enabling pedagogies that make university study more accessible for all.
What sets Sarah and Tanya apart as teachers is their energy and curiosity for understanding teaching and learning challenges that are unique to different disciplines. In my case, I teach online courses with third-year students from equity groups. Sarah and Tanya guided me in critically engaging with enabling pedagogies so that I could revise them to suit specific aspects of teaching in the online environment.
From being a student at the UniSA College, being taught using critical enabling pedagogies, to now being a tutor at the college using these approaches, they've had a huge impact on both my ability as a student and as an educator.
And across the board, the results have been a great benefit to both the academic team and, most importantly, to our students.
The thing you notice about them is they both walk into the room, they carry a lot of dignity with them, and they make sure to engage all of the members of the class. They don't dumb down the subject at all as they remember everybody's name. It was an absolute privilege to get to know them.
Not only as a lecturer, but also as an academic integrity officer, I've been able to use critical enabling pedagogies to embed educative approaches to addressing issues related to academic integrity.
And I came to know Tanya as an outstanding academic, is so committed to higher education, just the sort of person that our higher education accord in the country is calling out for at the moment.
Sarah effortlessly creates a supportive and engaged learning community where her students are empowered to take risks in their quest for further learning and where they feel valued. She is one of the most inspirational educators I've had the pleasure to know.
Their leadership is widely recognised as making the ambition to connect research and teaching into a reality, and their dedication to building communities of practice has broadened their impact well beyond the students who are fortunate enough to be in their classes.
Well, congratulations again, Sarah and Tanya. 4 amazing educators, 4 amazing women. I think, you can see the professionalism, the passion and the humility. They're all so humble. But I also felt a lot of love in the room through all of that. So thank you all so much. That concludes... Sorry, do you have something to say? So that concludes my part of the evening. I'm going to hand back to Graham now to finish us off. Thank you, Graham.
How blessed are we to have such brilliant teachers in South Australia. It's a pleasure to be here and to be part of this celebration. As we conclude this special celebration of achievement and innovation, I want to extend my congratulations once again to all of our AAUT Award winners. Your dedication and hard work inspires us and reminds us of the transformatory power of education. Keep up the good work. I'm sure our students in all of our institutions appreciate everything that you're doing for them on their behalf. A couple of thank yous before we finish. Thank you to Hannah and to Daisy for the music that we had before and the music which we'll have shortly after. And also heartfelt thanks to Stephanie Wake and to Chantal Howie for organising this event, and also for organising the workshop earlier in the day. And thank you for your contributions to the earlier workshop, which I know was very successfully received and very, very, very valuable for future award winners. So now I invite everyone to stay, to mingle and to enjoy some drinks served, and thank you again for attending tonight, and safe journey home. Good night.